The underground boxing circuit was a world of grit and sweat, a place where only the toughest fighters dared to tread. Max stood in the dimly lit gym, the scent of sweat and determination hanging in the air. He tightened his gloves, feeling the familiar weight of the leather against his palms. Today was a pivotal day, not just because he was preparing for his next fight, but because he was about to face Jake, the reigning champion who had become his greatest rival. Their rivalry was intense, marked by fierce competition and heated exchanges. Max was known for his relentless spirit and quick reflexes, while Jake was notorious for his cocky demeanor and ruthlessness in the ring. Their matches had become legendary, filled with tension and adrenaline. As Max shadowboxed in front of the mirror, he could see the reflection of his opponent's unwavering confidence in his mind. The gym buzzed with activity, fighters warming up and coaches shouting instructions. Max felt a surge of adrenaline as he envisioned the match ahead. He had trained tirelessly for this moment, pouring his heart and soul into every punch and every strategy. But today it felt different. The stakes were higher, and the anticipation hung heavy in the air. As he finished his warm-up, Max spotted Jake across the room. He was surrounded by a small crowd, laughing and joking as if this was just another day at the gym. Jake's presence always had a way of getting under Max's skin, igniting a mix of admiration and frustration. The way he carried himself, confident and relaxed, drove Max wild. Max walked toward the ring, his determination propelling him forward. "Hey, Jake," he called out, trying to sound casual despite the tension bubbling beneath the surface. Jake turned, his eyes narrowing as he recognized Max. "What's up, Max? Ready to lose?" "Not a chance," Max shot back, unable to suppress the competitive fire within him. The taunts and barbs exchanged between them had become a ritual, an integral part of their rivalry. As the match approached, the atmosphere in the gym shifted. Spectators gathered around the ring, eager to witness the showdown between the two fighters. Max felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on him. He was determined to prove himself not just to the audience but to Jake as well. The bell rang, signaling the start of the match, and Max stepped into the ring, adrenaline surging through him. He squared off against Jake, both fighters sizing each other up. The energy was electric, and Max could feel his heart racing in time with the thud of the crowd's cheers. The first few moments were a blur of movement. Max dodged Jake's initial strike, feeling the rush of adrenaline kick in. He countered with a series of quick jabs, the adrenaline fueling his determination. They exchanged blows, each punch thrown with intent and precision. But as the match progressed, Max found himself increasingly aware of the tension between them. Every time they locked eyes, he felt a spark of something more than just rivalry. It was confusing, a mix of admiration and frustration that only served to heighten his determination. As they fought, the crowd roared with excitement. Max felt the adrenaline coursing through his veins, but he also felt the weight of Jake's presence. He had trained hard to get to this point, but he couldn't ignore the emotions swirling within him. The first round came to a close, and both fighters retreated to their corners. Max took a deep breath, his heart pounding. He could hear his coach shouting instructions, but all he could focus on was Jake. He was infuriating, a constant reminder of everything Max wanted to overcome. As the second round began, the intensity ramped up. They exchanged blows with increased ferocity, both determined to come out on top. Max felt a rush of exhilaration each time he landed a hit, but the thrill was tinged with frustration whenever Jake responded with equal force. "Is that all you've got?" Jake taunted, a cocky grin plastered on his face. "Just getting started," Max shot back, feeling a surge of defiance. But beneath the bravado, confusion bubbled to the surface. The more they fought, the more Max felt a connection to Jake that he wasn't prepared to acknowledge. The rivalry that had defined them began to blur, leaving him grappling with emotions he had never anticipated. As the final round approached, Max could feel the adrenaline surging through him. He had fought hard, and he was determined to finish strong. With each punch thrown, he remembered why he had stepped into the ring in the first place. This was about more than just rivalry. It was about proving himself. In a moment of clarity, Max spotted an opening. With everything he had, he charged forward, landing a decisive blow that sent Jake reeling back. The crowd erupted in cheers as Max felt a rush of triumph wash over him. But just as quickly as victory surged, a wave of guilt washed over him. He couldn't shake the feeling that this rivalry was masking something deeper. As the bell rang, signaling the end of the match, Max stood in the center of the ring, heart racing, filled with confusion and exhilaration. Jake stepped forward, a mixture of respect and frustration in his eyes. "Not bad, Max. You've improved." "Thanks," Max replied, feeling a rush of warmth at Jake's acknowledgement. In that moment, the tension between them was palpable. Max could feel the weight of their shared history, the rivalry that had defined them for so long. But beneath that tension lay a flicker of something else, an unspoken connection that neither of them was ready to confront. As they left the ring, Max's mind raced. He had proven himself as a fighter, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was on the brink of something entirely new, something that could change everything between him and Jake. Days turned into weeks as they trained together, their rivalry deepening while the chemistry between them simmered beneath the surface. Max couldn't ignore the magnetic pull he felt toward Jake, but he wrestled with his emotions, feeling both confusion and excitement. One evening, as they sparred, the tension reached a breaking point. They exchanged blows, the competitive energy filling the room. But as Max landed a particularly solid hit, they collided, bodies crashing together. In that instant, time seemed to freeze. Their lips brushed against each other, igniting a spark that sent shockwaves through Max's body. He pulled back, heart racing, but the moment hung in the air, filled with unacknowledged feelings and confusion. "What was that?" Jake breathed, eyes wide with surprise. I don't know," Max stammered, grappling with the intensity of the moment. The air was thick with tension as they stood there, both acutely aware of the shift in their dynamic. Max felt a surge of guilt for his feelings, but he also couldn't deny the connection that had formed between them. The weeks that followed were filled with uncertainty. Max struggled to reconcile his feelings for Jake with the fierce rivalry that had defined their relationship. Training sessions were charged with unspoken emotions, and the tension between them grew with each passing day. Finally, one evening after an intense sparring session, Max couldn't hold back any longer. "We need to talk about what happened," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. Jake looked at him, the confusion evident in his eyes. "Yeah, we do." They found a quiet corner of the gym, the sounds of training fading into the background. Max felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him as he searched for the right words. "I don't know how to explain it, but that kiss, it changed everything for me." "Me too," Jake admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. The vulnerability in his tone stirred something within Max. "What do we do now?" he asked, feeling a mixture of hope and fear. "I don't know," Jake replied, his gaze intense, "but I can't ignore how I feel about you. It's not just competition anymore." Max felt a rush of emotion at Jake's words. "I care about you too, but this is so complicated. Maybe it doesn't have to be," Jake suggested, stepping closer. As they stood there, the weight of their rivalry began to fade. They were no longer just enemies. They were two fighters standing on the brink of something new, something that could redefine everything they thought they knew about each other. And in that moment, amidst the uncertainty, Max felt a flicker of hope. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, ready to embrace the complexities of their relationship. The days following that unexpected kiss hung heavy with tension and anticipation. Max couldn't shake the intensity of the moment. He and Jake had crossed a line that blurred the boundaries of their rivalry, but what lay ahead was still shrouded in uncertainty. Every training session now felt charged, as if they were both aware of an unspoken truth that lingered in the air between them. As they prepared for their next fight, Max wrestled with conflicting emotions. During practice, every glance at Jake sent a jolt of electricity through him. The way Jake moved in the ring, his body strong and agile, ignited a mix of admiration and something deeper, something that terrified him. Each punch thrown felt different now, every brush of their bodies a reminder of their shared moment. One evening, they found themselves alone in the gym after a grueling training session. Max was catching his breath, leaning against the ropes, while Jake finished wrapping up his cool down. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, and he could sense that something was about to shift. "Hey, can we talk?" Jake finally broke the silence, his voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of anxiety. "Yeah, I think we need to," Max replied, his heart racing. They stepped away from the training area, moving to a quieter corner of the gym. "I've been thinking about what happened," Jake started, his gaze intense. "That kiss. It felt real." "It did," Max agreed, feeling a mixture of relief and trepidation. "But I don't want to ruin what we have. Our rivalry is important to both of us." "Is it?" Jake challenged, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Or is it just a way to avoid what's really going on between us?" Max felt his breath hitch. He had spent so long channeling his energy into their rivalry that he hadn't considered how it might have been a mask for his feelings. "I guess I don't know," he admitted, vulnerability creeping into his voice. Jake stepped closer, their proximity igniting a spark of tension. "We've always pushed each other, right? What if we took that energy and channeled it somewhere else?" "What do you mean?" Max asked, trying to gauge Jake's intentions. "I mean, what if we explored this connection?" Jake suggested, his tone earnest. "I don't want to fight you anymore. I want to understand what this is." Max felt a rush of emotions. Fear, excitement, and a hint of hope. "But how do we do that without jeopardizing everything? The matches are training. Let's not let it interfere. We can keep training hard and just see where this goes." "I'm willing to try if you are." Max's heart raced at the thought of exploring his feelings for Jake openly. "I think I want to try too," he said, a tentative smile breaking through. "Then let's make a pact," Jake proposed, extending his hand. "We focus on our training, but we also allow ourselves to be whatever this is." Max took Jake's hand, feeling the warmth radiating from him. "Deal." With that simple agreement, a wave of relief washed over them. They both understood the risks involved, but the excitement of possibility outweighed the fear. As they resumed training, the dynamic between them shifted subtly. The playful jabs they exchanged now carried an undercurrent of something more. They pushed each other harder. Their rivalry transformed into a partnership that fueled their determination. Weeks passed, and the day of their next big match approached. The tension in the gym was palpable, but now it was layered with excitement and anticipation. Max found himself more focused than ever, eager to prove himself. Not just as a fighter, but as someone who could embrace this new connection with Jake. The night before the match, Max lay in bed, unable to sleep. Thoughts of Jake flooded his mind. The way their hands had brushed, the warmth of their embraces, and the shared laughter during training sessions. He was ready to step into the ring, but he was also ready to explore the possibilities that lay beyond their. "You ready for this?" Jake called out, a confident smile breaking across his face. "Always," Max replied, feeling a surge of determination. As the bell rang, signaling the start of the match, Max stepped into the ring, adrenaline flooding through him. The first few moments were a blur of movement and energy as he faced his opponent, a fierce fighter known for his aggressive style. Max felt the pressure mount, but he channeled that energy into focus. The match began As the matches began, Max stepped into the ring, feeling the electricity in the air. The crowd roared with excitement, and he focused on his breathing, channeling all his energy into the fight ahead. With every round, Max fought with everything he had, determined to prove himself. He could feel the support of his teammates, but most importantly, he felt Jake's presence guiding him through each match. When the final match approached, Max felt the weight of expectation pressing down on him, but he also felt the thrill of possibility. He was ready to fight, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Not just in the ring, but in his relationship with Jake. As he stepped into the ring for the final match, Max took a deep breath, steeling himself for the fight. The atmosphere was electric, the crowd buzzing with anticipation. He glanced over at Jake, who was watching him with an intensity that ignited a fire within him. "Let's do this," Jake shouted, and Max felt a surge of confidence. The match began, and Max threw himself into the fight, adrenaline coursing through his veins. Each punch felt significant, a testament to the bond he had formed with Jake. The tension of the past weeks fueled his determination, and he fought harder than ever. In the final moments of the match, Max spotted an opening. With everything he had, he charged forward, landing a decisive blow that sent his opponent staggering back. The crowd erupted in cheers as the referee raised Max's hand in victory. As he stood there, breathless and exhilarated, his heart raced as he searched for Jake in the crowd. When their eyes met, it was a moment of pure triumph and connection. They had faced the challenges of rivalry and transformed it into something beautiful. After the match, as the celebration began, Max rushed over to Jake, adrenaline still coursing through him. "We did it!" he exclaimed, his heart soaring. "Yeah, we did," Jake replied, a grin lighting up his face. As they embraced, the weight of their rivalry lifted, replaced by something profound. Together, they were ready to navigate this new chapter, prepared to embrace whatever lay ahead, both in the ring and in their relationship.